So welcome everybody to the first ever season of the International Pokemon Association, or the IPA League. So with the league's first ever season quickly approaching, the first week for the season rather, coming up really quickly, we wanted to kind of have an opportunity to introduce as many of the potential coaches that we had, and before actually going into the season, we wanted to kind of get their inputs and kind of their thoughts going into the week itself. So joined here today with Michael of the San Diego Charizards. So why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your experiences in the Pokemon game itself. This can be about ladder play, league format play, just kind of introduce yourself, I suppose.
Alright guys, how's it going? So my name is Michael, I'm the coach of the San Diego Charizards. A little bit about myself. I'm 23 years old. For the last 5 years I've been active duty military. I did a tour in Afghanistan in 2013, and I just got back from a tour in Iraq about 3 weeks ago. When it comes to experience on a battling ladder, in all honesty, I really don't have that much experience. This may upset some people, and I apologize if it does, but I had always looked at Showdown as an alternative to breeding Pokemon for Wi-Fi battles. For the longest time, I'd watched members such as Shady Penguin, A-Drive, Joey Pokegame having these really intense, really competitive Wi-Fi battles. And for the longest time, I believed that when it came to competitive Pokemon battling, that was the way to go. I didn't really have too much of an appreciation for Showdown. However, I allowed myself to watch a few videos and try it out, and once I did, I really got into it. And to this day, I really do enjoy battling on Showdown. When it comes to laddering, again, I really don't have that much experience with competitive battles.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. A lot of people kind of have a lot of opinions on stuff, but I think a lot of people are kind of under the opinion that there's not really a right or a wrong way specifically to play Pokemon. I suppose a lot of people kind of believe that their way is right, but I think when you come down to it, there's not really a specific one route method to playing the game of Pokemon. But again, a lot of people here as well are new. A lot of people kind of come in as the underdog and kind of take a lot of people by surprise. So that's potentially what you're going to be doing this season. But why don't we take a really quick look at your draft right here? So going over your draft, kind of like to start maybe with kind of your first few picks, because as a lot of people know in League, your first few, maybe 3, maybe 4, but pretty much your very first 2, 3 picks are pretty much the most important picks of your draft, and they're pretty much what you're going to be revolving your team around. So why don't you kind of walk us through your thought process when you went through picking up Sylveon, and into Thundurus, and into Metagross as well.
When it comes to the draft, I told myself before it started, I spent literally about a good week before the draft started taking down the top 6 Pokemon I wanted from every single type in the game, all 18 types. I wanted a Dragon Fairy Steel Core. When I was watching the GBA do their most recent draft for Season 5, I watched A-Drive in particular, and the way he explained having a Dragon Fairy Steel Core, I really took a new appreciation for it, and I wanted to try it out for myself. The IPA being the very first time I've ever tried to competitively battle in Pokemon, and in my opinion, A-Drive is one of the best competitive battlers in the GBA, and I believe that if he can make it work, given enough time, hopefully I can make it work myself. But my first choice, Sylveon. When it comes to Sylveon, I believe it has great versatility. Sylveon can be offensive due to he's got a very respectable 110 base special attack and base 130 special defense. Sylveon's gonna be tanking a decent amount of hits. And then again, you got hidden ability Pixelate. Great ability. Only very few Pokemon have it, and it turns all normal type moves into fairy types, gives a 1.3 strength increase. Moves such as Hyper Voice, Hyper Beam.
Can't forget the Hyper Beam. That's true.
I've seen a couple people run a physically offensive Sylveon.
I'm not gonna lie, I have seen that. Yeah, that's something I have seen.
One instance I saw somebody ran Max Attack, Max Speed, Choice Scarf, Giga Impact. And
So
it was
yeah, no, these
very
are.
interesting.
I guess kind of basically the idea of, without going too crazy, kind of the idea of Sylveon is that it's definitely a very versatile pick, which is kind of the big thing that people want in first mon picks. And I think you kind of were able to pull that down quite nicely with the Sylveon, Thundurus, Metagross. All three mons, very versatile mons. Metagross being one of the things that I think is kind of, I don't think underrated is the word I'd use, because I don't think anyone would say Metagross is bad, but I think just the Sylveon, Thundurus, Metagross, getting all three of those together as your first three picks, and I'd even go so far as to say Salamence as well as the fourth, but getting those four picks together, just as each mon by itself has quite a lot of versatility, quite a lot of options that it can run, it's a very nice way to open up the draft that you went into. Kind of going on from there, though, your draft is interesting in the same way that I think only three other people in the entire draft overall, if not three including yourself, it's either three or four people share this unique trait kind of about your team, and being you picked up your Mega as one of your last like 3-4 picks, which is kind of an interesting thing. So what I kind of want to know about that is, was it kind of planned that you wanted to get a, because like one of the big things about the really expensive megas rather is that they go really quickly. Things like Charizard X, things like Mega Pinsir, things like those are going to go really quickly. So what I kind of want to ask is, was your kind of plan going into it to try to pick up a cheap Mega as one of your last round picks? Because again, once everyone has one Mega, they're not going to pick up a second Mega, so you're going to have pretty much free reign to pick any, still a Mega Pokemon, but you are picking it up as a last draft Pokemon, as opposed to, sifting through leftovers, kind of. So what's your opinion on that? And just in general, what's your opinion on your Mega being Mega Beedrill?
First off, I believe that's one of the weaknesses when it comes to my draft, was that I held out so long to choose a Mega. I looked more towards, like I said, getting my particular core before I wanted to get a Mega. And being where I was in the draft order, I knew there was a very strong chance that the three main Megas I wanted to get, being Mega Charizard Y, Mega Venusaur, and the last one, I believe, just one second, let me recheck my order, was Mega Latios.
Right.
Those are the three top Megas that I was hoping to get. I knew that due to their strength and their prices, I knew that they were going to go fairly fast. And like I said, I was more focused on building my core before I wanted to accomplish anything else. I believe that's what cost me a shot at a better Mega. However, I felt that, for example, Metagross and Salamence, both are UU tier, however, both are pseudo-legendaries. I felt that they would have gone fairly quickly.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I didn't want to risk that. That's why I made sure I drafted them as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. I feel like had I been in either Tristan or Christian's spot as one of the swing picks, I might have had a better shot at picking up a Mega I wanted. Mm-hmm. However, due to where I fell in the draft order, I couldn't afford that luxury.
No, I can see what you're saying about that. I can definitely respect that. A lot of people, quite sure, kind of had the same problem. I know a few people had their favorite Mega sniped from underneath them that they wanted. And again, I know a few people whose kind of strategy was to go for a cheaper Mega to kind of conserve points. But kind of touching on a point there, you kind of brought up in terms of how you thought it was kind of a weakness on your team. If you had to say your biggest strength and the biggest weakness that your team brings to the table to this season, what would you have to pull out? What would you have to name as those?
For the biggest strength, I would have to say that my two UU picks are alongside one another. I mean, Metagross has such great natural bulk that you can, 9 times out of 10, you can mostly spread EVs to other stats if need be, instead of taking, like, for example, my Mega Beedrill. Mega Beedrill runs base 150 speed, I believe, and 140 attack. However, he is extremely frail. All right, sorry, it's base 150 attack, base 145 speed.
Yeah.
That's a 60-point bump in attack and a 70-point bump in speed. However, he's extremely frail. And being bug type, he's going to lose 25% every time he comes out on Stealth Rocks. That actually leads me into the biggest weakness of my team. I believe 5 out of the 11 draft picks I have are weak to Stealth Rocks, which is extremely crippling considering the fact that the only method I have of hazard removal is defog. I did not draft a single Rapid Spinner, which if I wanted to get rocks up on my opponent's side of the field while taking rocks on my own, I'd have to remove both, and then I'd have to go through the process of attempting to set up rocks again, which I might not be able to do.
To be fair, though, you did. Well, yeah, you do have 2 defoggers, but that is a very good point. Do you ever? Basically would have to be removing the rocks from your side on a team that's that weak to stealth rocks, and it makes kind of setting up rocks against your opponent counterproductive, and kind of at that point it makes it almost not even worth bringing stealth rocks, and not having a team that doesn't even bring stealth rocks is kind of, a huge weakness kind of as a team. So that is a very good point. Kind of one last thing I kind of want to touch on before we wrap things up, because it is getting a little bit long here, is kind of on the power rankings. Now, not really going too much into detail on the player analysis because players are kind of biased. I know, I'm sure my picks were kind of biased as well. So not really going specifically into the player analysis themselves, but the player analysis do kind of follow a similar trend, I would say, as to our actual analysis of the people that we got to see as our analysts. Sorry. So looking at our analysts and what they put, we had Bob rank you at 14th out of 16, and Frigate, I believe, ranked you as 15th, and then Jesse ranked you as 14th as well. So kind of, what's your opinion on that? Do you kind of agree, disagree? Do you kind of think the power rankings, because keep in mind they're specifically on the draft, do you think, do you disagree with them as to your draft, or do you agree with them on your draft but think you can blow away with your play style? Just what's your opinions on that?
In all honesty, I believe that they do have me accurately ranked. Again, being this is my first time doing any sort of competitive battling, I expected those with more experience than I to draft better than myself, and they did. I have no problems. I have no qualms with being ranked towards the bottom. I expected it. I'm not the sort of person to hold that against anybody, because our analysis obviously have much more experience than myself, and I'm not going to fight them on a topic that they clearly know more than me about.
Yeah, and I mean, keep in mind, just being I don't know, 15th, 16th, 14th doesn't mean they mean you're a bad player, right? Like, if you take the 16 best players in the entire world and you rank them from 1 to 16, you wouldn't say the 16th best player in the world is a bad player, right? It's like, I mean, obviously we're not comparable to the 16 best players in the world, but what I'm kind of saying is the power rankings here don't really reflect in terms of saying who's good as a player and who's bad as a player, right? But I think that should be everything good for, I think everything should be good for now, so thanks for your time, and I guess we look forward to you blowing us out of the water in the first season of the IPA.
I appreciate it very much, and hopefully I can live up to everybody's expectations. If not, in the end, this will be a huge learning experience for me, and I just really want to enjoy myself.
Well, that's the name of the game, but again, thanks, and I guess have a good night.